Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to be coming to you at Somaya University, an acclaimed university, before the distinguished faculty and students there in Mumbai, India, from my office in California at San Bernardino, at the California State San Bernardino University. I'm a professor of corporate strategy in a global economy. And I'm going to be talking today about the United States Army War College, a historic and highly acclaimed institution that uses learning as a process of improvement. And it is an exemplar of this kind of organization. These PowerPoint slides have received security clearance from the military, so I'm allowed and I'm grateful to them for allowing me to present this presentation on the learning organization. I was a part of the United States Army War College, a part of a team that trained high-level military officers from all over the world in the science of strategic studies. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army War College purpose is to educate senior level officers, colonels from all branches of the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, etc., and they from all disciplines. They could have been doctors, lawyers, engineers, artillerymen, military police, you have it. And we also educated colonels and generals from foreign militaries. And so that brought in a vast array of rich experience from all over the world. And we were pleased to have many senior ranking officers from the Indian military as well. Peter Senge tells us that organizations must learn and adapt in order to grow. Otherwise, they remain irrelevant. And here are some of the things the War College does. The data for these studies was sourced in 2007 to 2009 while I was at the War College, and then continued to be developed by me as I worked at the California State University as professor of strategy here in San Bernardino. So the theoretical intellectual pedigree for the study comes from theoretical data, of course, from the management literature and strategy literature, from, of course, the scholarly sources that have helped us understand the learning organization. I also am indebted to retired Colonel Anna Wagner from the Navy, who was at the War College. She is now the director of institutional research, and she was able to give me their statistics and so on, so that I could continuously update this, the data that I have for the War College as a learning organization. And various scholarly analyses and practical linkages taken from my own work over the last 5 years in strategy and in organizational behavior. Very quickly, I'm going to go through the various intellectual sources, the intellectual pedigree of the data. I'm not going to refer to all of them, but you will recognize as I go through the main ones, and these are the ones I used for this study. Adaptive learning and generative learning, coming from Senge. The strategy for metanoia, and I will explain this a little bit later. Metanoia or transformative change, coming again from Peter Senge. Strategy experience that is sensitive to learning, a strategy that is sensitive to learning, from Mintzberg, Henry Mintzberg, again well known. Emergent learning from Mintzberg, as well as strategy in action from Mintzberg. Continuous improvement studies by Deming and followers. Collective intuition in learning, coming from Eisenhardt. And Professor Argyris told us so long ago about various models of how organizations learn. What is the mission of the War College? As stated, it says it's preparing selected military, civilian, and international leaders for the responsibility of strategic leadership, to educate current and future leaders on the development and employment of land power in a joint, interagency, intergovernmental, and multinational environment, to do research and publish on national security and military strategy, and to engage in activities that support the Army strategic communication efforts. In this slide, you will see some of the officers who were my students in an elective class that we had. And I asked them, how would you brand a motto for our educational product? And their response, we integrated all the responses, and they finally came up with the statement, to develop strategic minds that move the world to peace. I thought that was a very nice motto for the War College. In an organization that moves rapidly from unstructured situation to unstructured situation, we have a statement that from General Eric Shinseki that states relevancy comes from the lessons of learning through change. He says an organization learns from change or it becomes irrelevant. More than ever today, our modern militaries experience great change in their environment. At the War College, we called this VUCA, a continuously changing, transformative environment. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and adaptive. And if you see today in warfare as well as in diplomacy, all these conditions exist, and the organizations that encounter these conditions must adapt. And this also goes, of course, for corporate environments as well. The United States Army War College is thrust to metanoia. Metanoia. What a wonderful concept that comes to us from the Greek philosophers. Meta in Greek means above, and noia is the mind. Above the mind, an analysis of analysis, for example, like we talk about metaphysics, above physics. Here we use metanoia at the U.S. Army War College in the spirit and that the great Peter Senge has taught us. But we must remember metanoia, or transformative change, has come to us even back, all the way back from the great Buddha in the 6th century, who talked about metanoic change of the individual. Many other great philosophers from different religions have talked about metanoia. Here at the War College, we take an officer. He's a senior, or she is a senior officer with a lot of experience. That officer comes in, is mixed and mingled in a great rich bath of other officers from various parts of the world, from various militaries, from various branches of the military, from various professions that they might be in, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and so forth. And they spend an intensive year mixing and understanding these experiences, learning from practice. And they go out of the institution as a senior leader capable of transforming, metanoic transformation of his or her organization downstream. Just as we expect corporations to embed learning issues into their value chain, at the learning organization that we know now as the War College, learning has been embedded into the value chain. The idea is upstream is to take an officer, that is the raw material that you see in corporations, and downstream to turn out a seasoned senior leader after they've received our training. So that's our product. And the product is enabled throughout the value chain by prior information that they come in with, faculty, the courses, practica, field trips, speaking opportunities for the students and faculty to tell us at lunch, during lunch talks and so forth, about their own learning and how it's impacted their particular unit or division. We use simulations, special tutoring. We also have a 1 week long, an amazing 1 week long experiential exercise in a special 3-story building just built for this 1 week exercise, for which the War College prepares the entire year. And that simulates a real world situation that a military must encounter. And so we often have Congress people talking to, let's say, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the simulated Joint Chief of Staff, who would be then a student, and they would be talking. We also have the UN, how they impact on the military. We also have the news. 24-hour news goes on, simulated. News goes on, is a running commentary of news. So students go and look at that news feeds if there is something, some crisis that has occurred that might change the nature of how the final decision will take place. This is a very rich, very in-depth linkage of the strategic concepts into practice, and it's a wonderful simulation that I don't see any other organization in the world providing such a multifaceted way of, and we all the faculty also take on roles. We might be the UN Secretary General or whatever, and it teaches you through simulated learning over a week. And people bring in their learning experiences, and we learn, and then we do an after-action review, but I'll talk about that later. As with any corporation, the military also has stakeholders and consumers, and we look at the consumers of the War College product who validate what it is that the War College does. And so service agencies, the press, various, the American public, international communities, various organizations that buy military equipment, that make military equipment, corporations. We look at them to validate what it is, the final product that the military provides. And so the educational product, which is the seasoned officer, goes into the world and within these various communities shows how much and how valuable that product is. Evaluation of our processes comes about through posing the relevant questions and searching the data for answers to those questions. The relevant questions would be, are we meeting our objectives for the changing military environment? Where do we need to improve? And how do we learn? And we get the information from a survey, research data, which we input into a software that we use called Inquisit. We do this through the institute, through retired Colonel Anna Wagner's office, which is institutional research, using both qualitative and quantitative methods. And we use 9 methods of inquiry or search, and I will explicate those in a minute. The US AWC uses 9 major modes of inquiry that feed back into the system and continuously help improve the system. The first one here on this slide shows the yearly curricular evaluation. Anyone that's been in a military organization recognizes the after-action reviews, the time when we look at what we've done and evaluate what needs to be changed from what we have learned. So after each course, there's an in-depth faculty examination of what happened. Again, going back to the relevance of readings and updates. Do we need to update the readings? So everything is very relevant. We don't use old readings, we update everything. The congruence with the learning objectives, the tools that we give in each seminar, that is each seminar, each day. The use of speakers, which speakers were good, which speakers were good but didn't actually satisfy our requirements in the way that we need to. So we look at those. The third mode of inquiry includes student pre- and post-assessment. We assess students prior to taking the courses, and they determine their perceptions of their own existing knowledge in the areas that we offer, in the areas of the curriculum. And for example, in 2007, the class showed moderate level of knowledge coming in. They had some knowledge, and hopefully in our post-assessment we will find that they gained additional knowledge. So the post-assessment survey after the final course determines the statistically significant differences between their belief of what their knowledge was pre classes and then post. And again, using the same body of students in 2007, they showed a gain in knowledge with a mean of 3.9. The fourth mode of analysis is the exit survey that given to the students. What is measured is the institutional objectives, the fields experience, which is there are two field experiences that we give the students. We take them to Washington, D.C. to meet congressmen and senators and key members of the United States government. And that's like a 2-day trip. Also, there's a trip to New York. And this is a nice one for the students because they can take their wives. And the students and their wives go to New York for 2 or 3 days. They go to the UN. They also go to corporations to understand and benchmark practices that can be benchmarked against the military. We also do an exit survey on a large project that they have to do at the end of their term with us, which is a strategy research project. It's like a master's thesis. We look at their satisfaction with respect to our library holdings, and the USAWC has one of the most in-depth linkages all over the world to library sources. So we have a vast array, some ancient texts that I needed on Corthylia. The USAWC was able to find Corthylia and his statements about war and peace. What level of satisfaction did they have with our tech support? What level of satisfaction was available to them in the garrison and the barracks as well. So we also put them through an Army fitness program, and every single student has to go and has to take part in various activities, whether it is tennis or whether it's baseball or basketball, whatever. There are, and we have teams. And when these colonels, who are essentially in middle age, in the 40s and 50s, come to us, they may not be in that good shape. So one of the things is to integrate both mind and body. Another thing which I should mention is the integration of the whole officer, that is, including the family. So we have a lot of family type organizations. Officers have been away from their families many times with respect to being in theater or so forth. So this is a time when they can rebond with the family and children. So that's another aspect that we consider the whole person, and we then seek to enhance the whole person. So we also look at the students and ask them, how do you look at these assessments? They have a lot to say about them, and we make changes as we think they're appropriate. And so the results of this exit survey shows a high satisfaction. There's always a very high satisfaction with the program. There are so many things for the students, so many ways to learn individually, collectively, as an officer, as a husband or a wife, a father or a mother. A lot of different modes that we use to educate and enhance the product. And we've learned these. These are things that came out of organizational learning in the past. The general survey for general officers is number 6 on our 9 modes of inquiry, and we distribute that to within the Army itself, to the Army, Army Reserve, Army National Guard, and we look at a time frame. We do it biennially. This last one that I'm showing has a response rate of 45%. We assess the goals. Are they these officers well prepared to work in a strategic environment? 97% said yes. Would they recommend this course to their commands, to their people that they command? And 99% said yes. Would they recommend our courses to civilians in their command? And just to understand, the military uses a lot of civilians, not only Department of Defense civilians, but all kinds of civilians in various areas of the military that they work there in the military. This slide shows the matching process, matching the evaluations to our aspirations in the War College, the mission and the objectives, and seeing whether the evaluations are in fact relevant. Professor Chris Argyris's famous Model 1 and Model 2 of organizational behavior and learning is presented here. In addition to the many officers that come from India at the level of brigadier or colonel, they come to enrich the learning and growth of this organization, the War College. We also have distinguished military officers that come to the institution from time to time as guests, as speakers. And this slide shows General Vijay Singh, Lieutenant General Dr. Mohan Bhandari, and General Upsani, shown in this slide. The original hypothesis posed early on in this presentation can now be verified. It's verified by a number of steps that we looked at, both internal and external, showing that the War College does both process improvements and looks to see how those process improvements link in with its vision, mission, and objectives for its product creation.